Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, The Fallen Pages. Today's book is Woman's Dionysian Initiation, The Villa of Mysteries in Pompeii by Linda Fierz-David. So Linda reads the fresco cycle in the Villa of Mysteries at Pompeii as a symbolic drama of feminine initiation, transformation, fear, surrender, and emergence. The paintings are usually dated to about 70 to 60 BCE, and the villa itself was buried by the eruption in 79 CE. The villa was excavated beginning in 1909, and the painted room became one of the most famous survivals of Roman wall painting. So this whole book talks about a painting that was found on a wall near a city in Pompeii. So let us first talk about the painting. So the medium, that design, how the painting was done, it's called a fresco. And a fresco is a wall painting made on plaster. Pigments mixed with water are painted onto fresh wet lime plaster, so the color bonds chemically with the wall as the plaster dries. That is why true fresco can survive for centuries like color trapped in stone. Another method, fresco secco, is painted on dry plaster, but it's less durable. So why does this painting matters in this book? The medium is part of the meaning. These are not casual decorations on movable canvases. They are images fused into architecture, surrounding the viewer on all sides. In this room, the art is not hanging on the wall. The art is the wall. That makes the viewer feel enclosed within a ritual world. So the fresco that is discussed in this book, the book is basically, it centers on the famous painted chamber in the Villa of Mysteries near Pompeii, a Roman villa outside the city walls. The room is famous for a continuous frieze of nearly life-size figures, usually interpreted as scenes connected to a Dionysian mysteries, a religious initiation associated with god Dionysius. The figure includes women attendants, satyrs, and winged figures. Dionysian imagery and what many scholars interpret as a bride or initiate moving through stages of transformation. So let us discuss about who the writer was. Linda Fierz-David. Linda Fierz-David was a German philologist and one of the early Jungian analysts in Zurich. She was associated with the circle around C.G. Jung, the psychologist, and her work is marked by Jungian symbolic method. She reads images not merely as archaeology, but as expressions of inner psyche. She was also among the first women admitted to study at the University of Basel. That matters because this book is not a standard archaeological handbook. It is an interpretive work. So Linda looks at the frescoes as if they are symbolic script of the feminine soul. So the book goes by step, like what this ritual that is being discussed in the fresco. It goes like that. The first thing Linda draws attention to is the fact that the paintings form a cycle. This matters enormously. We are not looking at random decorative scenes. The images appear to unfold like chapters in a sacred drama. The room becomes a theater of metamorphosis. The room is not decorated with myth. The viewer is surrounded by stages of becoming, of transformation. And as history says that Dionysius was a god of wine, but that is not true. He was not just the god of wine or intoxicants. One of the biggest misconceptions about Dionysius is that he is merely the god of intoxication. In the symbolic world of this fresco, of this painting, Dionysius is tied to ecstasy and dissolution of the old self, encounter with the instinct, sacred terror, and rebirth. This is why the imagery feels both beautiful and unsettling. In Jungian terms, Dionysius represents forces that civilized identity tries to control: instinct, passion, trance, surrender, animal vitality, and the breakdown of rigid ego order. Linda sees the initiation as a passage through these powers, not into chaos for its own sake, but into deeper wholeness. A central figure in many readings of the frescoes is the woman or bride-like initiate. In common interpretations of the room, she moves through scenes of preparation, instructions, revelation, fear, ritual, shock, and eventual composure. This is one of the book's most compelling ideas. Womanhood here is not presented as a passive social role, but as an initiated condition. It has depth, danger, and sacred consequences. Linda reading pushes against a flat, modern reading of femininity. The initiate is not just being dressed for marriage. She is being transformed into someone capable of bearing the energies represented by Dionysius, the god. Some of the early scenes of this fresco, of this painting, are often interpreted as involving ritual reading or preparation. Whether every identification is certain or debated. But the flow suggests that initiation begins with instructions and orientation. Symbolically, this is important. Transformation does not begin with ecstasy. It begins with hearing, learning, receiving a form. Before the soul descends into intensity, it is given a structure. First order, then disturbance, and then integration. The painting, the fresco, includes satyrs, Silenus, and other Dionysian figures, mythological creatures. These are not decorative extras. They pull the ritual out of the tidy civic world and into a more primal register. They represent forces that are half civilized, half wild. In Jungian reading philosophy, these figures suggest contact with the instinctual, your instinct, basically, foundation of life. The initiate must meet energies and culture keeps at the edge of the frame. The art says, in effect, you do not become whole by staying polished. You become whole by facing what is older than polish. One of the most haunting parts of this cycle, of this painting, is the mood of sudden fear or shock. Some scenes are interpreted as showing the initiate recoiling, confronting a mask, or enduring ritual ordeal. Public description of the frescoes mention frightening imagery, mirrored vision, and a winged figure with a scourge-like gesture. This is where the book becomes psychologically sharp. Initiation is not self-esteem therapy, it is rupture. The soul is not simply converted into maturity, it is started into a new awareness. The mask, the whip, the revelation, the terror, all these symbolize that there is no transformation without delusionment. Something in the old must crack, must die. The famous winged figure in the painting, the fresco, and the implied striking or scrounging have generated much debate. But in symbolic terms, the image is potent regardless of literal explanation. So Linda treats this kind of image as a part of initiatory logic. Pain, awe, and sacred vulnerability belong to the passage. Not because suffering is glorified, but because threshold moments often feel like violence to the identity that is being left behind. This is one of the book's strongest themes. Transformation is not cosmetic, it is costly. It takes a lot of your energy. A common interpretation connects the cycle of marriage preparation or bridal initiation in a Dionysian framework. The dressed women in the painting, in the frescoes, attendants, mirror, and enthroned matron imagery support this reading for many scholars. But Linda treats marriage as more than a social contract. In symbolic terms, marriage becomes a rite of passage into a fuller relation with Eros, embodiment, suffering, and destiny. So the concluding mood of this book, of this cycle, is often read as more stable, dignified, and integrated. The initiate or matron appears transformed. She has crossed the threshold and is no longer merely being acted upon. This ending matters in the painting. The fresco does not leave the woman dissolved in frenzy. It leaves her composed. The Dionysian passage is not the destruction of identity, but its deepening. This book's secret architecture consists of innocence, preparation, encounter, terror, embodiment, and completion. So why this book still is powerful till today? Because it refuses a shallow reading of both art and womanhood. Linda does not look at ancient images as museum wallpapers. She reads them as living psychic material that gives the book a strange electricity, even when one may disagree with a specific interpretation. The method itself is invigorating. She reminds us that art can be read not only historically but symbolically and existentially. The frescoes become a mirror in which ancient Rome, Jungian psychology, ritual therapy, and modern questions about feminine identity all flare into one chamber of red silence. So I guess this is it, guys. Do let me know what you think about the book when you read it. Leave your comments, and I guess this is it. See you in the next video.